everyone, Alicia Panzarelli here. So this is going to be the final recording for social media for educators course, and I'm going to be looking at implementing blogging in my physics course. So just a little bit of background of the course. So I do teach predominantly seniors and predominantly honors physics and AP, as well as college prep physics. So that's kind of the group that I will be working with. So again, with seniors, I'm predominantly working with students who are 17 and 18 years old. So you'll see a lot in the discussion here of, bringing student choice and student discussion into this so they can kind of make some of their own choices, and obviously me facilitating that. But that will come up a lot. And it's also one of the reasons why I chose blogging in particular. So we've had a lot of other tools that we've been exposed to now. I did bring up to my class, what their thoughts were about Twitter. They were not about it. So I'm like, okay, so that's definitely not a tool that we're going to use. If they are definitely not about that, so we're not going to use that. So then I batted around, okay, well, maybe we could use Instagram because that's a really big platform, especially with our new principal is using Instagram. He posts a lot. There's a lot of engagement. So that's a very common thing for us to be using. But ultimately, as I was going through, how I can use this, it would mostly be falling on me creating this Instagram account and just kind of showcasing what the students are doing rather than actually having the students be the one who are using it to the full capacity. Then I batted around the idea of TikTok, but ultimately, I landed on blogging and physics because one, it's been something that I've wanted to do for a while and just haven't spent the time to figure out how I would do it. But also, our last PD day that we had prior to Thanksgiving, we were taken on a field trip. The teachers were taken on a field trip. And we were taken to three different businesses. And every time that we went to a different business, we would ask them, what are the skills that you're looking for in your future employees? What can we be doing with our students to help them become, the best candidates? And every single one of them said that communication, clear, direct, efficient communication is by far the biggest thing that they're looking for. And it's also the biggest weakness of the students who are coming in. And I would 100% agree with that. And that's been consistent. That it wasn't just that one PD day and those three groups that said the same thing. This has been consistent over the last couple of years that they're saying communication is something we need. Like we cannot operate without clear communication, and that's verbal and written. And they said, the communication is so poor, and it's affecting not only productivity but also, a student's ability to get a job and keep a job. So blogging is a really, really good way to work on the written communication, and we'll kind of talk about how we would include some of the verbal as well. Which for my course, I will say we do a lot with kind of both of these, especially knowing how this is a 21st century skill that my students are really going to need, almost immediately. Some of them are already in the workforce, but within couple months they will be either in the workforce, in the military, in college. So knowing that these are skills that they need, I want to make sure that we're working on them to the best of our ability and as much as possible. So they do a lot of verbal presentations, but we'll see how this blogging will kind of coincide with those verbal presentations. So, preliminary activities. The first thing that we're going to have to discuss is, safety within blogging, because obviously this is something that is going to be posted for the whole internet community to see, whoever would happen to stumble upon it. So we'd have to talk about safety within that. So with that comes release forms. It also comes, how can parents be involved? How can they be looking at the blogs? And then also a photo release form. So those will be kind of those big pieces. And ultimately, the blogging site that I want to use actually came from the other course that I was in this fall. I was in the formative assessment course. And one of the things that we had to do is we had to create a Google site. And I really, really enjoyed making the Google site, seeing all of the different functions of the Google site. And I thought it was way better than the blogging site that I had used in this course when I did that assignment. So that's why, we're going to discuss, what makes a strong blog post. But one of the biggest things that's going to make it a strong blog post is all the features that a Google site provides. So if we look at the one that I made for the other course, we can see here, we can have text, we can have images, we have all of these different ways to add in formatting. You'll see I have a Google form in here. So that is something that students could use if they were to get outside involvement. So like they can post a question to the greater internet community and they could generate answers from that Google form. So that could be a way that we could connect with other classes, with other groups, but then also we can see graphs can be added here, pictures can be added here, so much can be added, and you could take everything from your drive. So my students have everything in their drive already. So this just seems like a really easy way to embed everything that they need. And even they could be making videos, have those videos in their Google Drive, very easily add it to this. So I just think this is the easiest way that I have seen to incorporate so many different tools while still achieving that kind of blog, we'll say, mentality with it. So knowing that we have all of these pieces, what we would then need to discuss as a group is what's going to make a strong blog post. So what they would predominantly be making these blog posts for is every single unit, there's at minimum one discovery lab. So this discovery lab is based off of I just do a demo at the beginning of the unit. From that demo, the students decide, here's what we observed, here's what we can measure, here are the essential question or questions that we want to test. So I give them nothing at the beginning. I don't give them vocabulary words, I don't give them a lecture, I don't give them equations. All of that is derived from the labs that they create. So once they do all of this afterward, they have to do a whiteboarding presentation where they verbally communicate, here's what we did, here's what we found, here's what we think it means. And then here's how we think it connects to prior content. Here's how we think it's going to connect to future content. So they do a ton of data analysis, creating a conclusion, creating an error analysis, and then they verbally present that. But with that comes, I do give them a post-lab questionnaire that is very basic. Every time it just says, what trend did you find? Why do you think you saw that trend? What does it mean about the motion? Tell me your mathematical model. Explain the pieces of the mathematical model and what they represent. So it's the same every time, but it helps to create that conclusion in the error analysis. So what this is going to do is take that post-lab questionnaire out and have them pretty much do all of that, but in this blog format where they can add additional pieces as well. So that's where, what key pieces of communication are going to be needed. How can we enhance the blog with, oh no, with those different functions. Do we want to add in videos? Do we want to add in pictures of the graphs, things like that? And then this can be, an open discussion on the platform. So other things that we would have to talk about, students are always going to ask, how is this going to affect my grade? Well, it's going to affect it the same way that it always has, in that, did you present all of your data? Did you address all of the questions needed for a conclusion? So that's not going to change. Like those expectations are the same, except now we're going to put it into a little bit more formal format and one where more people could interact with this. So then that's also going to be part of our class discussion, is how will we reach out to the wider community? And that's something that I would want to present to them and have a discussion about that, because they have great ideas, and I would like to hear how they would want to reach out. Would they want to find people through TikTok, Instagram, different blogs, and then how can we connect with those different classes, or even like professionals? How can we do that safely? So they would kind of bring about the ideas. I would make sure that we could do it in a safe way. So ultimately this blog kind of gets shared out. So I already kind of touched upon it. So why a Google site and why blogging? I've already said communication, those skills is a 21st century skill that is a non-negotiable for employers. So I want as many possible ways of working on written communication, You already have the verbal, but written communication. And if we look at, I have it cited down here, there's a peer-reviewed paper. It's called The Effectiveness of Using Online Blogging for Students, Individuals, and Writing Groups. And this paper goes through how using blogging has been extremely effective in enhancing students' writing abilities. Because not only do you have the collaborative nature of it, the biggest thing is the fact that they now know that this is a wider audience. It is not just my teacher reading it and, oh, no, she's fine. If we now open it to, hey, other classes can see this, your parents can see this, the physics community as a whole can see this, it automatically puts more weight to it, and students put more time into really crafting their writing, crafting their responses, and it gives them a little bit more skin in the game. And that was what was shown in the paper as well, is that was one of the biggest motivating factors, is knowing that there's more eyes on this. So I need to perform better, and I need to kind of bring, my best abilities to the forefront, and they get better and better as they went. So that was really motivating to read, and kind of solidified why I wanted to do more with writing. And again, as I said, the Google sites are extremely easy to use and offer endless options for the implementations of our different resources. So students can create video uploads, they can take videos from different sites. We have Google Form access. We can also, and this is where I thought it would be really helpful, is having, this is going to take place of that post-lab questionnaire, having all of that initial writing. Then we do the whiteboarding discussion. I do the big picture that brings everything together, then putting a reflective piece in it. Because somebody from the outside is going to look at the initial findings and be like, no, that's not entirely right. Well, it's not supposed to be entirely right. It's a discovery lab. So that's where you have the discussion as the classes, where you have the notes with me, and then you could go back and say, this was my original thinking. Here's how I've now tweaked it and grown from that. Here's why. So putting that reflective piece in there would again communicate to that wider audience. Here's how everything has grown. And once again, it has a communication piece. So I like that it could be reflective as well. Now, despite the fact that I think the Google site is the best, I will still allow for student discussion on the platform. If they say, no, Miss P, like I've used this in my English class, it really works well. If they present a really good, valid argument, then I will switch it if they can provide good communication as to why they would want to use something different. So purpose and strategies. So I have obviously my teacher goals and then my learner goals. So as a teacher, again, it's all revolving around good communication, is for students to enhance their communication skills, both written in the written form and verbally. But here emphasis is going to be placed on the written, and to engage in the larger physics community. That's kind of another big thing for me. In every school that I've been at, I am the only physics teacher. So there really aren't other classes for me to collaborate with or other teachers to collaborate with. So I've seen other schools and other teachers start to do this blogging so that they can connect with others, and that we could do more of a data analysis, we could do more of a discussion, you could see more. So I think it would be really great to actually get involved in the larger physics community. And then from the learners' goals, there's three big things. First of all, they need to be able to conduct a thorough data analysis and communicate the findings in a detailed and thorough way so that the audience members that any audience member is able to understand the results. If you cannot teach it to somebody else, then you don't know it well enough. So they have to be able to articulate all the details that went into this data analysis so that anybody, even if you're not in a physics class, you can still understand the findings. And that goes with being able to formulate a conclusion and error analysis, given a wide variety of variables. And they have autonomy within the procedure creation. So students create their own labs. I don't create them for them. They do that all on their own. So taking all of this and being able to communicate, here's what I did, again, here's what I found, here's what I think it means. And then with that, we talk a lot about how we don't just make statements without data to support it. So is it data driven? Is it conceptually accurate based on what you know so far? And is it easily understood by any audience member? So I'm going to pause this video here because I think it ends at 15 minutes, and I will have another video for the other two pieces.